Dear friends, welcome and thank you for joining us in this 10-day series on the life of Dona Lucilia. Today is day number 8. I am Father Arturo Lemnikian and I'm here presently at our mother house in São Paulo, Brazil. You have been hearing on these last 7 days on many aspects of the life of Dona Lucilia since she was young to her death, many things that she said, that she did, etc. And I think you have already a nice idea about who she was. And today I would like to go with you together to contemplate a little bit what was her vocation, what was the main aspect of her personality, what God wanted of her, and what was she called to reflect. And is there any word that we can find that can summarize what Dona Lucilia was and what her mission was? And yes, there is a word, and this word is kindness, goodness, love. She was an extremely kind person, always. And she was called to reflect this kindness in her life, but not only during her lifespan, time of life, but also after death. Her vocation continues after death, as you will see. So, where does this kindness come from? What is the meaning and what is the purpose of kindness for the history of salvation of mankind? If we go to Genesis chapter 1, we will see that God made man as his image and likeness, and that he did it in order for them to have dominion over everything on earth, over all creation. Now, this likeness and image of God has to be reflected, of course, on all creation, but what is the center of creation? What is the most important thing in creation on earth is man itself. So the ensemble of man, which is a society. And this likeness and this image of God has to be reflected on mankind. Now, of all the creatures that God did, there is one that is the most perfect of all, and it is Mary. Mary is the most perfect image and resemblance of God that he did himself, because Mary was going to be the mother of Jesus and the mother of God. And in that sense, she is a little bit divine, because she's the mother of God, even though she is 100% human. But she was elevated to such a degree of grace that she has a lot of divine. And this image of God, Mary, has to be therefore reflected on earth and have to have dominion over earth. And this time in history in which this image of God will have dominion over earth is called the reign of Mary, which could be called the reign of kindness, or also could be called the reign of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, because it's the same thing. The heart of Jesus and the heart of Mary are two hearts united in the same will. Two different hearts, but the same will. The same purpose, the same reason of existence. So if we see, those famous apparitions of the Sacred Heart of Jesus to Sor Josefa Menendez, that this Spaniard sister, religious sister, was born in Madrid and died in Poitiers, and she had revelations of the Sacred Heart of Jesus from 1920 to 1923. She was contemporary of Dona Lucilia. And Jesus, reveals to her all the love, all the kindness that is in his heart. For example, he says, Josefa, my heart is full of love, and it feels consoled by pardoning. I do not have a greater joy than pardoning sinners. Interesting, because love and pardon is two sides of the same coin. You love what is good and you pardon what is bad, but it's the same love reacting to different situations, the good and the bad. And if we consider when Jesus died, what was the last thing that he would like to do before dying on the cross? What is the last thing that Jesus did? It was to pardon. He pardoned the good thief. The last thing he wanted to do before going up to the Father, to the house of Abraham, he wanted to pardon, and he pardoned the good thief, who was representing all of us. So the mission of Jesus is to pardon and to forgive and to transform. You may have noticed that many of the speakers of this 10 days series, we all had the Sacred Heart of Jesus next to us. It was not planned, but it's not a coincidence, because there is a great link between the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the subject of today, which is Dona Lucilia. For Dona Lucilia, the Sacred Heart of Jesus was the Alpha and the Omega of her life. When she was very young, his father gave her a gift. The first gift that she received was a statue, more or less this size actually, of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. This statue was bought by her father, and even though maybe the father didn't realize how meaningful it was for Dona Lucilia, but this statue had a tremendous meaning in her life, and this statue accompanied Dona Lucilia from her very young age to her death. When she died, she had this statue in her room, the same statue that his father has given to her. And the expression of the statue is beautiful. We can say that his features of the Sacred Heart of Jesus express the poignant complaint that he made to humanity through Sister Margaret Mary Alacoque. Jesus said to Sister Margaret Mary, "My daughter, behold the heart which has so loved men, but which is so little loved in return." So this love that is not being returned is something tragic. It's something very painful to Jesus, and it's something that has to be reversed. There has to come a time in which the love that Jesus gave to mankind has to come back to him. And Dona Lucilia had a role in this part of history. For example, when she was married, once a beggar came to her house. He was blind, and he asked for food. So she made him come in and went to the kitchen, and they prepared a plate of food for him, etc. And he started eating, but blind, he was not seeing what he was eating. And Dona Lucilia was next to him, and she was observing what he was liking and what he was leaving aside in the plate. And what she liked, she will put more without him noticing that she was putting more in his plate so that he could be happy and he could be well treated, and he will feel good. So she was born in a certain type of world. When she was young, the world was in a certain stage, but when she died, the world was completely different. From 1876 to the middle of the 20th century, the world has changed tremendously. And the world went through an enormous transformation from good manners of the well-educated society of the 19th century. It went to the chaotic revolt of the French Sorbonne Revolution, and which was a revolt actually against kindness. So Dona Lucilia never consented with this transformation. She didn't go along. She resisted, but she stayed always the same. And she dreamed with a world of kindness, of the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She dreamed with that love that bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, as St. Paul tells us in his first letter to the Corinthians. So, by not accepting the path of decadence of the world, in which she was born, Dona Lucilia was at the same time the last ray of light of a certain era, and she was the dawn of a new time. So being her kindness was kind of the morning star. You know, the morning star is that star that appears at night, and it's the last star of the night which announces that the sun is coming, that a new day is going to come. So a new day of kindness is coming, and it is the reign of Mary. And Lucilia was kind of a morning star of this reign. Once her son Plinio, in 1950, he had to go to Europe. Lucilia was 74 years old. And she didn't like her son traveling by, or her daughter traveling by plane, because she was afraid the planes in those times were not so safe. You know, well, today they don't fly anymore, but it were not safe as in those times. And so she didn't like, you know, to be announced that Plinio was going to take a plane and go to Europe. So Plinio did something else. He just told her that he was going to Rio, you know, not too far away. Actually, he went to Rio because the plane to Europe left from Rio. But he just told him half the truth. And he talked with his aunt and Silly, and he told her, please, I'm going to leave with you a bouquet of flowers and a letter. And when I reach Madrid, which is my destination, I will send you a telegram. And then you will go to Lucilia, to my mother, and you will tell her that I'm already in Europe and I'm safe, and you will give her the flowers and the letter. And also, as it was the following days, it was her birthday. This was even more tragic. So Dr. Plinio left a letter for her, and then she answers a very nice letter that gives very much the atmosphere of her soul. She says, beloved son of my heart, I just received your letter and telegram. May God be praised. You arrived safe and sound. It is not without reason that I kept saying to your father, my heart seeks Plinio and finds it not in Rio, but in the air. So Lucilia, even though she didn't know where her son was, she knew that she was not in Rio. He was not in Rio, and that he was far away. She could feel in her heart where her son was. So she was always very calm. Why was she calm? Because all the goodness that she did, she never expected retribution. She never did something to be repaid. And if we think of some words that she would say to one of her spiritual sons or daughters, what would those words be? I wrote them down here, and we can go through, and it will give you a feeling of what she really feels. She would have said, my son, my daughter, never, in the strict sense of the word, never doubt of my love. Even if you become the worst of sinners in that terrible state, you would not have the right to doubt of me. Engrave this in the depth of your soul. You do not have the means to overcome the love and affection that I have for you. Forget everything and just believe in my words. With these thoughts, I leave you. I hope this was useful. God bless and Salve Maria.